Hey everybody, I'm going to just share a couple thoughts on the NCAA sanctions that came down on Penn State. Um, I also posted at the bottom my two recent blog posts on Penn State, kind of just to give you some perspective on how I feel about this whole thing. But I just want to address the sanctions because, for once, I think the NCAA got it right. I admit I'm kind of surprised, but they got it right. If you haven't heard, here's the list of the sanctions: $60 million fine, vacation of wins from 1998 to 2011. That's 112 wins. A 4-year ban on bowl games. Reduction of scholarships 4 years, going from 10 initial to 20 total scholarships. Um, the athletic department is on probation for 5 years, and the NCAA has the right to further punish folks who were involved after their criminal trial. And players can transfer and play immediately at their schools. Now, the way I feel about this is I predicted this, honestly. I knew that I had a feeling the NCAA would be smart and just try to take away money. I said that they should take away football revenue because I think that that's at the core of this. Take away football revenue, reallocate those funds to help prevention of child rape and victims of rape. The NCAA got that right. I said that they should ban Penn State from bowl games. Don't let them have a chance to get any kind of bowl revenue. They did that. A 4-year bowl ban is probably one of the longest bans they've ever done for something like this. So that was huge. Um, the shocking thing, which I think probably caught me off guard, was the vacation of wins. I thought that was very surprising because I did not think that they would take away wins because um, there was no on-field violation. So I figured, okay, but 14 years wiped from the books. I mean, that's pretty strong. I mean, Joe Paterno obviously is no longer the winningest coach in football history. He's down under 300 wins actually to 298 wins. So his reputation, his legacy, if you want to call it that, done. Not even the great, not even one of the most winning coaches. It's done. So this was designed to take him out for sure. Um, the probation I think is going to be important because if Penn State's athletic department screws up again in any sport, now you're talking about maybe bringing in the death penalty because the death penalty was instituted for repeat violations, which is why one of the reasons I was against it is because sadly there weren't repeated reported violations. There were obviously repeat violations, but they weren't reported, and that's the sad thing about that. I said I hoped that Penn State wouldn't get the death penalty because I felt that it would hit too many innocent people, and I thought that it would just probably do more damage than good. And for a punishment like this that needs to be very swift, very harsh, you need to be surgical more than just atomic bomb, destroy the whole thing, and whatever fallout happens, you deal with it. Um, so I think the punishments, just on the surface, they look like they were very fair. People are going to point out and say $60 million. What does that have to do with the total endowment that's over, $1 billion? Well, I think that you need to punish the football program if you're going to punish anything. If you need to punish the athletic department, then you have to ask yourself, did the entire athletic department, did the other sports programs cover this up? No, it was men in charge who were responsible for this. So you punish the men, you punish the scapegoat of football that was used to cover this up, and you take away that revenue. So I think that's fair. You can't say that you should take away all of Penn State's money because did the science program have anything to do with this? Did the engineering program have anything to do with this? I mean, I don't think you can really take away that whole endowment. I think you just target the football program because this was what was protected. This was held up as a sacred cow that kept the people from doing anything against Jerry Sandusky. So you hit that program and take away that program's funds, and you go from there. Now, I also heard something this morning on Colin Cowherd where Jay Bills was talking about Spanier, Curley, and Schultz not being mentioned, and really kind of thinking that that's the people who should have been targeted the most. I agree. I think they should have been banned from the university, banned from any working with any collegiate sports, because those three besides Joe Paterno were the ones who allowed this to happen. They should be banned, and regardless of them going to jail, which they're going to probably, I've been for that since the start. They should be charged with covering this up and breaking Pennsylvania law, but they should have some serious punishments against them for working at a university ever again. Not that they ever will, I think, but they should be banned. Now, I don't know why, but people want to compare to USC or Southern Methodist saying, well, Penn State didn't get any TV sanctions. They're trying to compare it to Ohio State and all that other stuff. And My question is why? How can you compare covering up child rape for over a decade to honestly stupid stuff like renting a house for Reggie Bush's family, tattoos for the Ohio State, um, SMU um, repeatedly getting violated for illegal benefits. I mean, the only thing you can really compare this to off the field is the Baylor scandal from 10 years ago, where um, one of the players was killed by a teammate, and the coach covered it up by lying about the kid's reputation. He got coaches to lie about it. That was pretty much the only thing you can almost compare it to. You can't compare it to on-field stuff. So I think to compare it and say, well, they didn't get hard enough, or how could USC got hit this hard, or whatever. Look, Penn State's going to be done in 3 years. They're going to be done as far as just as a relevant program. Because if you think about it, I'm 27. I've been out of college. I went to college 10 years ago. Penn State's allure was about the same as Notre Dame's. Everyone knew who Penn State was, but nobody was trying to go there, go rep Penn State. I mean, they didn't have the prestige of a football program that some of the other schools had. They weren't USC. They weren't Ohio State. They weren't Texas. They weren't Florida. They had good records. I looked at their records. They had double-digit wins in 05, 06, 08, and 09. And they were ranked as high as number 3 in 2005. But Penn State as a program, as far as like a top elite program, they're not an elite program. So you take away those scholarships, which is going to be reduced by 10 and can go up as high as 20. So for the next 4 years, they're going to have 65 players on that squad. Who's going to want to go there, first of all? Second of all, those who are there, I mean, they're going to be struggling. So Penn State's football program has been hit very hard. Maybe even harder than you think it should, but they got hit hard. And I can't compare it to USC or anything else because, as USC has shown, they backloaded those scholarship restrictions. Because in 2010, they were still recruiting kids left and right who didn't care about that. I covered some of those kids. Those kids didn't care about the scholarships. They still wanted to go to USC because USC was still a top-flight school. And now, in 2012, they're going to be one of the top teams in the nation with all those kids who came there thinking, okay, we sacrificed 2 years of our eligibility to just win games and get better. Now, 2 years later, here we are. We're going to be probably number one and number 2 team in the nation. We're going to go to a bowl game. We're going to show everybody this is what we've been wanting to do. And just like that. I mean, USC may have some trouble down the road with some of the scholarships, but they're going to be in good shape. Penn State's not going to be in good shape. They had trouble getting kids that come there anyway, big name recruits. Now what recruit's going to want to go to Penn State? Who's going to want to go to play for a program tainted by that? And that's going to be the ultimate problem, the ultimate legacy of this terrible, perverse scandals, that the football program is going to be tarnished. The university is going to be scarred from this. I have a dear friend who's a Penn State alum. She's shaken by this. I mean, she's saddened by it. It's going to be hard for her to represent Penn State, even though she has nothing to do with this. It's going to be hard, because she's got to deal with that backlash. And I feel bad for her. I feel bad for the students. I mean, you can say, the students elevated Joe Paterno and the football program to a religion, and Joe Paterno was their false god. You can say that. But the students, at the end of the day, they're just emotional. They're students and alumni who feel passionate about it. If you're still trying to cover this up, I don't speak for you. I'm speaking of just regular students who probably feel like, dang, this sucks. But they understand. Reasonable students will understand the sins of the university allowed this to happen. The sins allowed this to happen. So I really think that the NCAA did a good job. I mean, there's going to be probably debate about the vacated wins. Was that necessary? But the good thing is that they did not. They didn't go after the Big Ten with the death penalty, which would have affected them, because if you put the death penalty on, it would have affected the other schools trying to replace Penn State on their schedule. That would have been a lot of money they would have to spend, and training and fall camps open up very soon, so that would have been a huge problem for the Big Ten. They didn't really target any other programs in the university. I mean, that money that Penn State's going to bring in is probably going to affect some of the other parts of their campus too. So let's not forget that. But I think that the NCAA did a fairly good job with this. I mean, just on the surface, I can't think of anything that they could have done more. I mean, they could have maybe suspended them for the whole season or everything, but I think the slow death that's going to infect them for the next 4 years is pretty big. Don't forget, bowl money is big money. You can't go to a bowl game. That's a lot of money that the university is going to miss out on. And they're not going to make any money from the Big Ten either because they're not eligible for the conference championship game. So that's going to be huge. So I think the NCAA did a good job with this. I mean, you can look at what happened to USC. They got the wins vacated. Also, Reggie Bush and OJ Mayo were excommunicated from the university, which is why I wanted the NCAA to excommunicate Spanier, Curley, and Schultz. You can look at the SMU scandal, compare it if you want to. I just don't think you really can. I think at this point, you got to look at what Penn State did and say, this is going to hit them pretty hard. It's going to hit them hard. And for those people saying, well, it doesn't look like that way, come see me in 2015 and we'll see. Because I guarantee you, in 3 years, we're going to see Penn State look completely different. And by 2017, when they start a new football season with those, with the full complement of scholarships and the first season bowl eligibility, they're going to look radically different. So, again, I hope this closes a very sad chapter. I really think that ultimately, again, my hearts go out to the victims for this. I hope that this somehow brings them a little bit of closure, although I don't really think that any kind of penalties can help repair their personal, private demons that they're going to have to live with the rest of their lives. And I truly hope that we learn from this. And if anything, like I wrote in my last piece on Penn State, I truly, truly hope that we as sports fans, as sports journalists, that we reevaluate how much importance we put sports in our lives. Sports are great. I love sports. You know, they're great, but we need to put them in their proper perspective. Never put sports in front of the things that matter. Please. I know it's not going to really, it's going to seem hollow because a month from now we're going to be gearing up for college football season. You're going to see the thousands and thousands and thousands of fans line up at a university ready to celebrate a new season. You're going to hear all the ceremony, and probably by October we'll be talking about the BCS and the best teams and the pageantry and everything. But I really hope that we continue to just remember that sports, while as great as they are, they only last for a few hours. After that's done, put sports back in its proper perspective. We talk about it, we analyze it, but please, let's not put sports in front of what's right. If there's a tragedy or if there's a scandal going on, let's not just say, okay, let this guy play because he's a star player. Let's just reevaluate because this is a character flaw. This is a big character flaw ripped open, and we need to check ourselves. I got to check myself. You know, you reading this, check yourself. You know, programs need to check themselves because we know this is going to keep happening. We know that as long as sports brings in so much money, as long as there's big business, as long as people place a premium on sports above everything else, these things are going to keep happening, sadly. And I can only hope that if somebody does the right thing and handles it right and, you know, has swift action, then that's a true lesson we can learn from this. But ultimately, it starts with us. It starts with each and every person committing themselves to reevaluating their character. And so that's all I have to say on it. So I just say thank you to the NCAA for once. You actually did a good job. You didn't grandstand too much over this, but I hope that we just step back and learn from this.